Welcome back, everyone, and thank you for joining me today. I'm really glad you're here because we're about to explore one of the most fascinating and surprising stories in American coin history. At first glance, this coin looks completely ordinary. It's small, brown, and familiar to almost everyone. You may have even held one just like it in your hand and never given it a second thought. But hidden behind its simple appearance is a story of mystery, rare errors, incredible possibilities, and a value so shocking that it completely changes how we look at everyday money. Today, we're diving deep into the Liberty 1 cent 1962 USA coin and the reasons why some examples are believed to be worth as much as $850 million, an amount so far beyond its face value that it almost feels unreal. When most people think of a 1 cent coin, they think of something nearly worthless, something dropped into jars, left in pockets, or ignored on the sidewalk. In 1962, the 1 cent coin was simply a tool for everyday transactions. It bought candy, helped make exact change, and passed through countless hands without anyone stopping to admire it. Yet history has a way of hiding extraordinary stories in ordinary objects, and the 1962 Liberty 1 cent is a perfect example of this phenomenon. To truly understand how a 1 cent coin could ever be connected to a value in the hundreds of millions, we need to explore not only the coin itself, but also the era it was made in, the minting process, the mistakes that could occur, and the rare circumstances that turn a simple penny into a once-in-a-lifetime treasure. The year 1962 sits in a unique place in American history. The United States was in the middle of major political, social, and technological change. The Cold War was shaping global tensions. The space race was accelerating, and American industry was producing massive quantities of goods, including coins. The U.S. Mint was working at full capacity to meet the demands of a growing populace. Today's next focus is the Liberty 1 cent 1971 USA coin, a coin that many people have seen, touched, or even spent without a second thought, yet one that has captured the imagination of collectors around the world because of the extraordinary possibilities hidden within it. While its face value is just 1 cent, stories, theories, rare discoveries, and numismatic speculation have pushed its potential worth into figures that seem almost impossible to believe, reaching as high as $976.5 million in extraordinary circumstances. This is not a promise that every 1971 Liberty 1 cent is worth a fortune, but rather an exploration of how such a humble object can become priceless due to errors, mistakes, mint mark variations, and once-in-a-lifetime anomalies. When we talk about the Liberty 1 cent of 1971, we're talking about a coin born in a time of transition. The early 1970s in the United States were marked by economic shifts, changes in metal prices, and evolving minting technology. The Lincoln cent design, often casually referred to as a Liberty cent by the public because of its association with American ideals, was already a familiar sight by 1971. Millions upon millions of these coins were produced, and that massive scale of production is exactly where the story begins. Whenever something is made in such enormous quantities, the chances of mistakes, inconsistencies, and rare variations increase dramatically. Most of these mistakes are minor and go unnoticed, but every so often, an error slips through that defies normal expectations and becomes legendary. The 1971 1 cent was struck primarily at the Philadelphia and Denver mints, with the San Francisco mint also producing proof versions. On paper, this sounds ordinary. The design shows Abraham Lincoln on the obverse, a symbol of unity and perseverance, while the reverse features the Lincoln Memorial, representing legacy and remembrance. The composition was mostly copper, a detail that later became imp. Now we are diving into one of the most fascinating and controversial topics in American coin collecting, the Liberty 1 cent 1976 USA coin, a coin most people overlook, a coin that blends history, mystery, and the dream of unimaginable value. This is not just a story about 1 cent. It is a story about how a simple penny can challenge what we think we know about money, rarity, and worth. The Liberty 1 cent 1976 coin was minted during a year filled with national pride and historical reflection. The United States was celebrating its bicentennial, and the spirit of freedom, independence, and legacy was everywhere. Although most attention that year went to special quarter, half-dollar, and dollar designs, The 1-cent coin quietly continued production, carrying with it decades of tradition and symbolism. On the surface, it appeared ordinary: the familiar Lincoln portrait, the word liberty, and the date 1976. Millions were struck, spent, saved, and forgotten. But within that massive production lies the heart of this story, because not every 1976 Liberty 1 cent is the same. What makes this coin so fascinating is not what it was meant to be, but what it accidentally became. Errors, mistakes, and mint mark anomalies turned a common object into a subject of intense speculation and desire. In the world of numismatics, errors are not flaws to be discarded, but fingerprints of history. They are evidence of human involvement, mechanical limitations, and moments when the minting process went slightly off course. Sometimes those moments create coins worth a few dollars. Other times, they create legends. The idea that a Liberty 1 cent 1976 coin could be worth as much as $730 million may sound unbelievable, even absurd, to the average person. And that is exactly why the story captivates so many collectors and dreamers. This valuation is not about everyday examples pulled from loose change. It is about extreme rarity, unique combinations of errors, and theory.